I have 4 kids. Believe it or not, this is not my day job. This is not my full-time gig. So I do have a job. I work from home most of the time, and then I do a little bit of traveling. So I get to spend a lot of time at home, a lot of time with the kids. And, it is, 4 kids is a lot. It is. 3 felt like, like just a normal size, TV family, and then 4 is like a litter. It's the line. I don't know. It's a tipping point, 3 to 4. So beware, young parents, that 3 to 4. That's where it starts to get crazy. And it's starting to age me, and I'm picking up on it, but it's not all at once, right? It's in there's little hints along the way that I'm just starting to get older. Sleeping is one of them, I used to we used to sleep on basement floors, right? Trampolines. Even in college, I could have slept in a bathtub of Legos, and I would have been fine getting up the next day. You know what I mean? If I fall asleep with an extra pillow on accident, or if I don't drink 64 cups of water before I go to bed every night, I wake up feeling like I've been in a UFC fight. It's crazy. So that's hit number 1, right? But also this last summer I was out in the garden and I was doing some watering, and if you guys don't know, tending cauliflower is not a young man's game necessarily. So, I'm out in the garden doing my thing, and if you're local, you'll know this, right? Sometimes one of those old World War II jets will fly over, and it's really low, and it's really cool. I think they're from Moses Lake or something in their training, but it happens every once in a while. I'm in my backyard and I'm all alone, nobody's home. So I'm out there watering my cauliflower, and this jet just right over the top of me, right over my house. I felt like I could have touched it, And I just watched it until it went all the way out of my vision, and then I said out loud to absolutely no one, "Wasn't that a special treat?" And immediately I was just what? That's how my grandpa talks. That's not how I talk. So that was it. Also, a couple months ago, I hurt my back, and it wasn't from a mosh pit. It wasn't because I was doing jiu-jitsu lessons. I was putting away laundry at a weird angle, and then I sneezed, and it just seized up on me, right? And so for 2 days, I was just walking around the house like this. And my wife, she likes to poke fun, so she's like, "Kids, your dad hurt his back. He sneezed really hard. At his age, he's lucky he didn't break something. Just take it easy, It's just little things that they keep hinting at me that I'm getting older. And, spending time with the kids like I do, 3 of my kids are girls. And they're all pretty young. All my kids are under the age of 14. So 3 of them being girls, I do a lot of girly stuff, I've had my toenails painted so many times, you guys. I'm an expert cashier at a fake salon. I'm number 1. I also can do register at a yogurt shop, but cashier is really my go-to. But one of the things that my middle daughter really likes is Barbies. She loves Barbies. So we do spend time doing Barbies. And as we're doing Barbies, I started to have this realization. I'm I think Mattel is missing the mark here, and they're leaving some gaps in their marketing approach, And I've been emailing them, right, all my ideas. I haven't heard back anything yet, but I'll share a couple of my favorites with you guys. I just think with Barbie, they could get a little more local sometimes, a little more regional, right? A little more social with it, there should be a Mormon missionary Barbie, right? She has a bicycle, she has some name tags, that would sell, I guarantee you. You could have, you could have Moses Lake Barbie, right, where she comes already handcuffed, Right? There's Cashmere Barbie, she's a talking Barbie. She's special edition. When you push the little button on her back, she goes, "But were you born in Kashmir, or did you move here?" Right? I'm working on Christian nationalist Barbie, but I just can't see Mattel selling a Barbie with its own little AR-15. I don't see that. So that one, we'll see if that one gets across the board. I did feel somewhat prepared to have children. I just have a lot of nieces and nephews and a lot of cousins, and I had a nephew one time at breakfast, just in the middle of breakfast, he stood up and just started peeing into his Cheerios because it was a good chance for target practice, I'd seen some stuff, and so I felt somewhat prepared, and I just wasn't, guys. You can't be prepared because there's just the unknown, and it's going to happen. And I'll give you a few of my favorite examples. Number 1, like I said, I work from home, and so once a week I have a pretty important meeting where I'm meeting with my teams, right? And they're spread out across the country, so we don't do that often, and it's where we give directives and set goals, and it's pretty critical. And I do that meeting once a week, and I'm doing it from my bedroom, and so I'm talking on my screen, and if you guys know, the camera's on, the microphone's on, you can hear me, you can see me, right? And I'm right in the middle of this meeting, and my bedroom door just flies open faster than a 13-year-old logging out of his browser when his mom walks in the room. There's my naked daughter, 4 years old, right on the screen, and she yells, "Dad, it happened flush because my poop is too big. Everybody hears it, obviously, right? And I should have reacted in that moment, like hit the mute, or I'd shut the computer, Kyle, do something, you know? But I hesitated. And so she stepped a little bit more in frame and followed it up in the old like fisherman thing. She's like, you gotta see it! It's huge! The boss saw it, you know? It took a while to recover from that one. The other best one, I think, is my other daughter. She was a toddler, and we were driving in the car, and she's right in the back, you know, and she had just entered what we call, like, the nose-picking period, which, if you're a parent, you know, there's a certain time where a child realizes they can just pick their nose, and there's nothing stopping them, right? Like, they can do it uninhibitedly, and so they do. For, like, 6 months, they live with their finger in their nose. And so she's in the back, and she's, like, going at it. She's, like, 2 knuckles deep, you know, and I'm kind of watching her in the mirror, and I'm going to stop her because she's about to nick an artery, I think, you know, so I'm about to cut her off, and she goes, hey, Dad, do you know what I do if I get a booger and I don't know where to put it? Right? Oh, no, that's exactly right? Like, I start thinking in my mind, I'm like, oh, somewhere at home there is a hidden booger patch, and I don't know. But for her, you guys, she's surprised to turn out at me, and she goes, if I can't find anywhere to put it, I just put it right back in my nose. Right? Like, guys, in 42 years of picking my nose, I have never once considered putting it back inside. But in the business world, she's what we call an out-of-the-box thinker, okay? That kid is going places. Excuse me. No, parenting is fun. It's hard though too, right? There's hard moments, and I think, you know, especially as you like send your kids off to school and stuff, a lot of parents want to remove the variables of like the hardness by just homeschooling your kids, right? Like that seems to help. You just keep them at home because then there's no bully problems, there's no teacher problems, right? Kind of simplify. Is there any products of homeschooling, any homeschooling parents we got here tonight? Shoot. Okay, no, we'll keep going. No, homeschool's great, for real. Like, homeschool kids often seem to be way smarter. They're always, like, further ahead than everybody else, right? Like, there's definitely benefits to homeschool, but I don't think it's just me. Like, when it comes to homeschool kids, you can usually tell, right? Right? Like, there's something about them where you can tell. And these not universal truths by any means, guys, right? Like, we're just talking about certain commonalities, right? Like, things like Velcro shoes, right? Like homemade haircuts seems to be consistent within the homeschool crowd. Every homeschool kid I've ever met has an in-depth knowledge of Lord of the Rings and or Chronicles of Narnia, right? Like they can recite that like a second nature, you know? That it's just true. And I say all this from experience because one of my best friends growing up was homeschooled. And the older we got, like the more hesitant he was to tell people he was homeschooled. And I don't know if it was like a meeting girls thing or what it was, but he just always kind of pretended like he went to school with the rest of us. But he would do things sometimes that would give it away, you know? And like I was a church-going family too, so we all went to church every Sunday. And do you guys remember, who remembers No Fear shirts? Right? Yeah, if you're not 40, I'm sorry. They were t-shirts that said, like, they were super trendy, and they said No Fear on the front, and then on the back, like, something really controversial, you know, like second place is the first loser. But there was like variations of it, and at least where Kyle went to school at Sunny Slope in 5th grade, it was, your social status was based on how many different No Fear shirts you had. And I'm serious, it was a thing. I remember Rory was the king. Rory had like 37 No Fear shirts. Nobody could catch him. Rory, if you're out there, bro. But anyway, so one Sunday, all of us cool Sunday school kids, we coordinated and we wore our No Fear shirts together on Sunday, right? Because we looked cool when we would do that. And my buddy, we're going to call him Homeschool Herbie, just for privacy's sake. Homeschool Herbie must have went home and told his mom he needed a No Fear shirt because the next Sunday he came back with the homeschool version, which was like a worn see-through Hanes t-shirt, and then she had embroidered on the front, embroidered, not No Fear, but the biblically apt, Fear Not. Like, that doesn't work. Poor Herbie. Another time our youth group had a band come, and at the time we were all trying to be punk rockers, so we were like, and we were learning our instruments and like trying to be in a band, so this was like a big deal for us. And we sat like right in the front row, and this band is performing, you know, and I'm a drummer, so I was like playing my ear drums, you know, because we were kids, and I looked awesome doing that. And then my buddy next to me was like playing his air guitar and just ripping, and then we looked down at the end of the pew, and Homeschool Herbie just wailing away on his air cello. Right? Like, come on, dude. Nobody wants to see that. You know? Just giving it away. My daughter has a homeschool friend. They're like 8, and they were over at the house, and they were bored. So I sat them at the table, and I dumped out like our arts and crafts bin or whatever on the table. And I'm like, go at it, girls, you know. And I come back an hour later, and my daughter, I was like, what do you make, sweetie? And she held up this painting. And like, if I'm being honest, you know, it wasn't great. You know, she's 8 though. Guys, take it easy on her, right? Like, but her friend, who's the same age, I was like, oh, sweetie, what'd you make? And she's like, well, I took some toothpicks and those pipe cleaners, and I made a working sundial. They're the same age. Like, that's a problem. My daughter gave me 8 fingers. This is a sundial, you know? Like, there's something to be said about homeschooling, okay? But, you know, one of the other things that like, raising kids and them getting older is talking is, like, how much things have changed, like, how times change and how quickly things have changed. Like, think about how much discipline has changed, you know, since we were kids, right? Like, it's a totally different ballgame, discipline, nowadays, you know what I mean? Just the other day I was trying to, and I shouldn't have, but I'm an over-communicator, you know? And I was explaining to my kids how punishments used to work, just so they could be thankful, you know? And I was explaining to them, my grandma used to make me pick a switch out of the apple tree, and like I shouldn't have done that, you know? Because they were horrified by it. Like, my daughter wouldn't let it go all day. Later that day, she was trying to email Dateline because she was busy, you know? Before she went to bed, she's like, Dad, who did call the cops when it happened, you know? Like, they couldn't get it. And, you know, it's funny, right? Because discipline is just so different nowadays. You know who was a good disciplinarian? My mom. My mom was a master disciplinarian. And she wasn't mean or like rough or anything like that. But she could discipline me. You guys, when I fall on this thing, you can laugh. Oh, that's fine. She could discipline us without a word, right? Like, impose discipline, no words. Some of you already know what I'm talking about, right? We called it the oh crap look, you know? And my mom, she was a master at it. Like, it was a skill in her tool belt of parenting. And what really made her impressive though, like, was she could multitask with it. You know what I mean? So, like, she could be on the phone, like, okay, for this skit, I'm my mom, and you're me, but you don't have any lines, so don't worry. Like, she could be on the phone, and she could just, like, rotate between personalities, like, so quickly, you know, and she'd be like, hi, oh my gosh, it's so good to hear from you, I'm so happy right now. Yes, we would love to come over. It's so long overdue. That's amazing. Yes, but and she could do it, you know what, she could do it in church and nobody would even notice, right? Like, I could be 7 pews behind her. And the pastor would say, right, he'd pray, and then he'd say, okay, everybody greet a few people, and then go ahead and have a seat. And she'd be in front of me, you know, and she'd turn around. She'd, hi, it's good to see you. Look at your hat. Oh my God. Right, she knew exactly where I was, and she just zeroed in with that. Right? And I knew I was in trouble. And I would tell my buddies instantly, I'd be like, oh shoot, I'm grounded. I can't go after church. And by the way, Mom's eye was going like that. I'm pretty sure I lost my screen privileges too. You know? Mom was a master at it, right? The other thing that's changed a lot that I've been thinking about is phones. Right? Like, remember when you were a kid and there was one phone, you know? And like, let's be honest, when it rang, it was kind of this beautiful mystery that everybody participated in, right? Just like, you'd be watching Full House or something awesome, you know, and the phone would ring and everybody stops, like, who is it? What do they want? Why are they calling us? Who do they want to talk to? And you had options, right? Like, you could take it off the hook if you wanted. They would know if you were busy or dead, you know? You could just ignore it. And then when you see them the next day, they'd be like, I was calling. You're like, what? When? Nowadays, right, our hands are kind of tied, you know what I mean? Like, somebody calls me, it tells me their birthday, it tells me their blood type, like, it tells me how long we talked for, when's the last time, right? It's too much information. We don't need that much information. Phones have changed a ridiculous amount. And the teenagers with these phones, like, it's kind of next level, you know? Like, I can talk to a teenager and be locked eyes with them, so I'm pretty sure they're engaged in the conversation. And then I happen to look down, and their hands are just like... and they're like having a full-on conversation with somebody else while they're still talking to me. It's pretty impressive, honestly, but it's kind of scary too, because there's this whole generation of people that are like making their living on these screens, you know, streamers, and like there's people that make a ton of money and they just open baseball cards in front of the camera, you know? And then there's a lot of people doing it. My worry is that, like, if God forbid, you know, something happens, something catastrophic, catastrophic, like there's a whole generation of people that are gonna have to pitch in, and I don't know how well they're gonna do. They're gonna be like, well, if I start a fire, who's gonna stream it? You know, like they're just gonna stream it. And I don't know, what are you gonna do? I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna find all the homeschooled kids, and I'm just gonna round them up. We're gonna build a city together. The other thing, along with phones, is like dating, right? Think how much dating has to be different now than when I was a kid. Like, it was already hard. You take all those complexities and pile on top of that, like social media and your whole life being recorded all the time, and people can look at your past. Like, it's just a lot, right? I think it's a lot, you know? And I think back to when we were kids and like just how nervous we would get. You know, you think about like middle school or early high school, and you're trying to talk to the opposite sex, and like you don't really know how to approach. At least I didn't. You know, I'd get all nervous, and my buddies and I would strategize about the best way to approach girls. You know, we would sit around and just talk about that. And I remember one year after winter break, our buddy Sean came back, and he was like a new man. He had a new approach, and it was all based on one word: aloof. I remember it so clearly. He used that word so many times that day. I'm gonna be aloof, you guys. Listen, girls like guys that don't care, you know? And maybe at that age, like, there's a little bit of weird truth to that, right? But he was just convinced that this aloofness was gonna just be the next level thing for him. And so we all wanted to see him do it because we wanted to see if it worked. And so, you know, there was like a varsity basketball game that weekend or whatever, and we're watching the game, and there's these girls from Yakima across the way, and we're like, Sean, let's see the aloof thing, dude. Like, put it into action. And so he needed a wingman to go with him, right? And I wanted to see this up close and personal because I was pretty sure it was going to blow up in his face. So I go with him, and we go across. And even his walk was kind of aloof. Like, I got to give it to him. And guys, like, it was working. Like, he engaged this girl, and he was very aloof. And she seemed to be just kind of eating it up. Like, she was loving it. And they were having this back and forth, and like, he was making her laugh, and she like kind of touched his shoulder. And it was going so well. And like, in a state of heightened aloofness, you guys remember when everybody had one of those Old Navy pullovers? They were like a fleece thing, right? She was wearing one of those, and those things kind of collect hair, you know? And she had this like errant hair hanging off the collar of it that was just kind of like fluttering in the gym light perfectly. And so, in a state of heightened aloofness, Sean's like, I should move that hair for her, right? And so he did. And he reached up and he pulls on this hair, and as he pulls on the hair, she kind of leans forward, and in a moment of horror, the three of us realize the other end of that hair is connected to this huge mole right underneath her chin. As he pulls on it, she's like, oh, and he's like, yeah, and I'm like, see ya. We retired the aloof approach that very night, collectively as a group. But be joy, because I do have a tip for relationships, for marriage. Is anybody here on date night? Is it date night for anybody? Can't see anything, you guys. A couple? Okay, well, some of you are in relationships, no doubt. For those of you that aren't, just keep this one in the bank, okay? Little tip, like, you gotta keep, I don't care how long you've been together, right? I've been married for almost 15 years. I don't care how long, you gotta keep a little bit of mystery in the relationship, okay? I'm gonna give you an example, because I know you need one. Like, let's talk about the bathroom door, right? If you live with somebody in particular, and especially if you have like a master bedroom, master bathroom situation happening, right? When you first got married or first started living together, let's be honest, like when you went to use the bathroom, you would go in the bathroom and close the door. Some of you would lock it. Some of y'all would even like turn on the fan or the water just to make sure that no sound escaped that room whatsoever, right? Because you were that worried about it. And then like a little bit of time goes by, right? And you're like, why am I locking the door? Let's say it's not a robber, you know? So you unlock the door. A little more time goes by. Pretty soon you're like, the fan and the water, am I crazy? You know, so you start turning those off. Next thing you know though, guys, you're just cracking the door, okay? And then like a couple kids later, and you can be mid-conversation, and one of you will just walk right into the bathroom, you'll keep talking. And so the other person has to follow you. And then you go in and you sit down, and they have to just stand in the door while you use the bathroom. Like, this is the expectation that starts to happen, guys. And it's inappropriate, okay? Like, it's not necessary. And I know some of you are like, but it's my partner, and I can be myself with them, and like, meh. That is one of the options, it is. But you don't have to, and I do think that some things are just better unheard, you know? Like, every time you go to use that bathroom, you have zero control over the auditory results, ultimately, right? Like, you do to an extent, but not really, okay? You never really know what's gonna happen once you start committing. And your fart echo into the toilet bowl. You know? That's one of the things you can go a whole relationship and not know about, okay? That and hemorrhoids. We'll talk about that one next time. But I'm just saying, certain things just never need to be discussed, okay? They can just stay kind of in the privacy closet forever. Yeah, the other one is there's always some advice I notice that people give to couples, like if they have a reunion party or like a wedding, and there's an advice box, which seems to be kind of trendy. Somebody will always put in the advice to fight naked, right? And it's like, so have you guys not heard that? Yeah, right, it's a thing. Shh, chill out. And I saw it several times this summer, and so I started thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, like, okay, if you're right out of college, and like things are symmetrical and like sitting where they're supposed to be, and like that makes sense, right? You're naked, they're distracted, the fight kind of gets sidetracked, right? But like if you're getting married later in life, or if you're taking another crack at marriage, like I honestly don't know if this is the best approach, you know what I mean? Like if your spouse is trying to decide if they're still attracted to me, it's probably not my best move to be like, oh yeah? Right? Because if they're already mad, now they're mad and they're disappointed, you know? And it just like opens up the avenue for criticism. So I can be like, well, when did your belly button start looking like that? You know? When did you start collecting skin tags, right? Like it just gets less fast. So I just think altogether, like let's just avoid that one, okay? So that's Kyle's relationship advice. But I do consider myself to be a very fortunate man. I have an amazing wife. I married the right one, you know? And so she's a champ. She's so proud of you guys. Like, babe, come up here, let's kiss for a minute in front of everybody. Just kidding. I'm not even gonna tell you because I would be in so much trouble. But my wife is incredible, and not only is she incredible, when she became pregnant, my wife actually developed a superpower. Like, I'm not even exaggerating, it's a real thing. You can look it up on the dark web. As soon as she became pregnant, she could smell, like, you can't even believe, you wouldn't believe me if I told you the things she's able to smell and from the distances she can smell them from. Like, she just instantly became part bloodhound. Like, if my son opens the living room window, she can tell if someone 3 doors down has a toilet they need to flush, right? Like, she's just like, that Johnson kid, always pooping, never flushing, you know? Like, it's incredible. Like, and in fact, you know, we're gonna get a little bit childish here. You know when you fart and like there's that brief moment right before the actual fart where the fart kind of like announces itself, right? Like it's that small gap where you decide either to clench or like go with it. You know what I mean? Like only you're aware, right? Yeah. It's a small gap. That's when she smells it. She's that far ahead. The other day, I typically don't fart in front of my wife, but the other day, you know, it was gonna happen, and before I even really committed, my fart was in fart purgatory, if you will, right? Like and she was just like, really, babe, that much fiber this week? Seriously? Like, she's that far ahead of the game. And speaking of things that smell bad, what is the deal with East Wenatchee? Like from 11th Street up, it's like driving through a sulfur mine. Like, it's horrible. And it's not, to be fair, it's not just East Wenatchee. Like Pybus area a little bit too sometimes. And like that hotel they built there with all those nice patios, like, come, sit, enjoy, close your eyes. If the wind's blowing just right, you'll be magically transported inside the colon of all of our locals, right? It's disgusting. I just don't get it. And you know, I saw in the news this week, one of the best scientific discoveries of the last year was like, there was I don't know the difference between a comet and an asteroid and meteor, I don't know, but there was one of them and it was like flying around up there at incredible speeds, and we sent a probe up and we collected samples, we brought the samples back, we analyzed them, they have the building blocks of life, pretty cool actually. But that's impressive stuff, and yet the smell of poop is like a code we just can't seem to crack, you know what I mean? I just don't get it. All right, guys, I'm almost done here, and I'm gonna get a little risky, and I'm gonna venture into an area that's gonna make you uncomfortable, right? Let's get a little socio-political, okay? Just, it's okay. It'll be fine. The last several years, it's fair to say that there's been a ton of like awareness and progress, right, in like just recognizing traditionally disenfranchised groups, right? It's a beautiful thing. It's continually happening. It seems like, and it's awesome, and it should continue to happen. But there is a group that has honestly just been ignored and left behind. Completely. And I can say we because I am a part of that group, right? And guys, for as long as I can tell, society has been set up in a way to completely just destroy this group of people, it seems like. You know, and nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it. We talk about all the other things, but we don't talk about it. Well, I'm going to tell you, like, we're here, we're not going away, we're going to keep talking about it. We are left-handed people. Just for real. Roll with me for a second, okay? I'm going to take you on a little timeline. Kindergartner Kyle shows up to kindergarten, so excited, right? I just want to participate. And the teacher hands out a normal piece of paper, and it's got like a dotted line down the middle. And then she hands out safety scissors to everybody, and everybody's like, awesome, you know? And she says, I just want everybody to just cut your piece of paper in half, everybody. And so I watch around me as all these right-handed gods and goddesses just slice through this piece of paper like melted butter, just shake, you know? So I put those scissors on my left hand, and as soon as I start cutting, the whole paper just crumples in on itself like a piece of crap, you know? And nothing I can do will make that piece of paper cut, right? And it doesn't get any better, you know? Like, remember how middle school was like binder time? Everybody had binders, and it was, at least in my time, binders, like everybody had to have one. They carried it from class to class. It was like a trophy, like people decorated it. And the binder people must have really stepped up their game that year, you know what I mean? Like, I never thought about that. They're like, we want in-your-face graphics, but you better have Velcro in those things somewhere, right? Like, binders just got next level at that point. It didn't matter if I had one of the next level binders, because every single binder I opened had these 3 metal rings right where my arm needed to go so that I could write anything, you know? So, like, I had to learn to write like this, right? Which is attractive, number one. But I would look around at all you right-handed folks, and it looked like the pen was doing the work. Like, just like... And I'm like... Can you read that? You know? It was horrible. And the older I got, I just noted I learned to play drums. They're all set up for right-handed people, right? Guitars. And there is ways around it, but like, I didn't have money to just buy new left-handed things, people, right? I had to use what was available, and they were all for right-handed people, okay? And it seemed like it just kept getting worse. To this day, my 3-year-old, who was legitimately born without tendons in her thumbs, can cut better than I can. Like, I still can't do it for anything, you know? And in fact, when I started doing a little digging, like, there are certain tribes in the Amazon, and you can look this up. They believe whenever you commit a sin, it's because your evil left hand convinced the rest of your body to do it. India, what hand do they wipe with? Right? Like, if this isn't some grassroots mind manipulation that everybody just doesn't talk about, right? So I'm making it my mission. We're going to start talking about the left-handed people just a little bit more. But you guys have been super awesome. I appreciate you guys so much.